people always call it like the career ladder.
Yes.
I don't believe in that because it's never a full step. Like, I think it's more of like a career jungle gym. Where it's like you're over here and then you're down here and then you're over here and then you're over here.
Yes. Hi, it's me, your teacher turned CTIO friend, Diane Doersch, and this is Beneath the Water. Well, hi there. We are here with my friend, Victoria Thompson.
Hi, thank you very much.
I'm so happy you're here today.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here too.
Yes. And, I think about when I first saw you, and that's been at conferences for years, right? But I've always loved your friendliness, the enthusiasm you brought. It's interesting that when I would see you like in the hallway and things, you'd always be hugging people and
Yes.
you'd always be welcoming. And your smile, if you're not watching and you're just listening, she's got the most beautiful smile.
Oh, thank you.
That is inviting in. And, smiles bring people in as well. And I think I've always seen you as a person who's able to bring people in. And I love that about you.
Thank you. Thank you. Such a nice compliment to start off my day. This is awesome.
Yeah, and those were great impressions because when you see people like that, you're like, I want to be their friend.
Yeah.
I want to know more about them, right? You pulled me in with that smile and that warmth.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So happy that you're here and that we can chat about things.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Cool.
Yes. Okay. Well, do you remember the first instance when we met or just how that ecosphere?
I know we had seen each other in passing at lots of different conferences because we run in the same circles,
We do.
The ISTEs, the TCEAs, the EPTCs, all that stuff.
Yes.
But the first time that I had a face-to-face interaction with you, I want to say it was 3 years ago at COSIN in Miami. When it was in 2023, and I attended the Women in Technology breakfast.
Oh, awesome.
And you were one of the presenters. And then afterwards, we had a conversation and realized that we had a lot in common.
Yes.
And that kind of kickstarted our friendship and our professional networking and that was a lot of fun.
Yes,
So, yeah.
yes. So I do love that. And, I love those events that bring, people together and then also having the time to actually network.
Absolutely.
Because
it's one of those things where we don't really get a lot of time to do that.
Right.
They always say that at conferences, the best PD that you get, if you're listening right now and doing air quotes, the best PD that you get is when you're in the hallway.
Right.
But when you're constantly going from room to room, place to place, it's when do I actually get to talk to people and meet people?
Oh, true.
Even this morning, I was going through and in between a couple of meetings, and I have people that I would wave at that I know very, very well, but because I'm within 2 minutes of a meeting, I can't really stop and I can't connect with them. So then I have to deliberately make time, which I have no problem doing. I love talking to people, but for me at my stage of my career now, I can't do hallway PD because I always have somewhere to be.
Right.
So it is really nice to have those conversations and those spaces that are deliberate for you to say, okay, we're here, we're going to be focusing, we're going to be talking, and we're going to be connecting.
Yes. Yeah, that's a really good point, that whole networking and taking the time to do that. Yesterday, I was at the ISTE author reception.
Okay.
And when I walked into that room, I didn't know many people. I didn't know anyone. I knew Carolyn Habig, who comes from Wisconsin.
Yes.
Right? And so we kind of hung. But then there was a table that went free. It was a stand-up table. So we walked on over there, and I'm like, okay, now we can put our drinks down and we're good. I see this guy over, by the bar, and he's struggling with his drink. He's got his food. He's standing. Yeah. It was a horrible situation. And I just said, hey, we've got a table. Come on over here. And suddenly our table grew, right? I'm in the food line. It's like, hey, do you need a place to put your stuff down? Here, we've got a table for you. And suddenly we have 4 new friends, right? And so it's taking that time, it's inviting people in. And I'll bet you would do exactly that same thing.
100%. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, that's what makes you so magnetic, I think. Well, tell me about your career. I mean, how did you start out?
Yeah,
It sounds like you were a classroom teacher before that, or before this, but how'd you start?
So my first, I call it like big girl job, right? Like when I graduated from undergrad, so I went to College of Charleston, go Cougars, for my undergraduate degree in elementary education.
Oh, yes.
But I'm from New Jersey originally.
Oh,
So this
wow.
was definitely like a destination college for me, if that makes sense. Seasonal affective disorder was not really a thing like when I was growing up, but I feel like I definitely had it. Like even growing up when I was in high school, I would do like all these weird challenges during the winter to try to get me through like December to March. Because for me, March 1st started spring. Like it wasn't March 21st, it was March 1st. So I knew that I needed to get out of the Northeast.
Smart girl.
Right. Like I knew that I needed to have a sunny location, a warm location. I knew that I wanted to be in a city because I grew up outside of Philly. But, Philly is different. It's good different, but it's also different. I also wanted to be somewhere where I knew that I could be warm year round. So that's why I chose College of Charleston. And I loved my experience there. So then after graduating from CFC, College of Charleston, I taught there for about 4.5 years. So I was 5th and 6th grade math and science in Berkeley County, South Carolina. And I loved it. Like, and I was at the same school the entire time. Like, all the kids knew me. Like, their siblings wanted me as a teacher.
Oh, that's
it was awesome.
cool.
And I was also kind of on that track to becoming like a coaching lead, like an instructional coach, all that stuff. I was already doing professional development for technology-related things within the school because Berkeley County at that time, they were going through like a one-to-one initiative. And in that one-to-one, at Berkeley County at the time, those districts are like dirt roads, one stoplight.
Wow.
Like you might be lucky if you see a paved road in like the downtown area, but for the most part, it really was very, very rural.
Yes.
So what do you do when 10,000 Chromebooks like drop into your lap?
Holy cow.
And these kids, this is their first time having a
Right.
Chromebook or any piece of device.
Yes.
So, and also, there wasn't really a lot of technology support at the time. I think that the district, to be very candid, kind of like led into that digital native thing. And they're like, oh, well, their kids are going to figure it out. I'm like, we're in rural South Carolina, baby. There's no way they're going to be able to figure this out. And of course, it became more developed, and they have a Walmart now, which is cool. They have McDonald's, which is also really cool. Because I go back pretty frequently, and the area is really built up. But at that time, it was mostly mom and pop shops and dirt roads and one stoplight. So I was leading the way for a lot of the school-led professional development. And I was, doing all that. I got my master's in curriculum and instruction. I'm like, okay, I'm going to apply for jobs. Like, this is going to be great. And then my then girlfriend, now wife, who was former active duty Air Force, got the call to move to Seattle, Washington.
Oh, wow.
So when the Air Force tells you to go, you have to go. So of course I'm crying, like I'm freaking out because I left the Northeast because I didn't like cold, I didn't like rain, I didn't like gray skies, and now we're moving to Seattle, which is notorious for that. And I still hated it there. And that's another conversation for another podcast about how we felt othered, as two Black women in a very primarily like white space.
Sure.
However, what I did appreciate about that was it really springboarded my career. Because as much as I appreciated my time in South Carolina and still do, the infrastructure isn't there to support leadership.
Oh,
it's very good old boy. It's very who you know, what you know. It's like, for example, one of the ladies that I used to work with, wonderful woman, but like her mother was like assistant superintendent of something in the state. She was able to get whatever job she wanted. She had her pick of the litter.
Sure.
Whereas like, when you're not from that state or if you're not from that county or, whatever, it just becomes much harder for you. Like even when I student taught in Charleston County. I could not even get an interview in Charleston County. I had to go one county over to Berkeley County, which is still very fine county. They're all fine counties. But in Charleston County, it was like, oh, well, like this person knows this person. And like this person's daughter needs a job or this person's son wants to be the football coach. Right. So it was very insider. And coming from New Jersey and Philadelphia, like we value community, but we also value, if you want to be part of us, you can be part of us and we're going to let you in. This was kind of my first instance of well, you weren't born here. You didn't grow up here. You like we value you, but we already have somebody else waiting in the wings. So that was my first instance of that. So then moving to Seattle, where it's a much bigger community, much bigger city, all these other things, and also a booming tech scene, I was pretty much able to do whatever I want. So my first job
That's
out
awesome.
the gate, I actually worked for a tech company. So I was a technology strategist. I only lasted for 6 months, not because I didn't want to be there, but because this was before remote work and hybrid was a thing.
Sure.
I was commuting 4 hours round trip.
Oh my gosh,
if you could believe
lady.
it. So
yes.
I was losing it was NPR and a prayer.
Yeah.
NPR and a prayer. And I was getting so mad because
That's a long ways.
The stories I was listening to in the morning were the exact same stories. And I was like in the car, I'm like, I'm gonna jump out of the car right now.
I've heard this before.
Right. I was so angry. And I was going to my doctor, because my back was hurting, like my mental health was in shambles. And they were like, you need a different job. So I went from 4 hours round trip driving to an 8-minute walk, which was like the best ever.
Yes.
So then I worked at a private independent school, and I was there for about a year. So I taught math, and I also built up their math curriculum. This was also during COVID, and because it was private, independent, and also a boarding school, all of our kids scattered.
Sure.
And that's when I started my remote learning blog, where I was just like, all right, like here's what's happening, here's what I'm seeing. And it took off, like all across.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
Because people were looking for stuff at that time,
100%.
right?
100%.
Yes.
So because it took off, then a school district in Washington, they picked me up as a STEM coach. So my focus was on not only just science, technology, engineering, and math, but making it super equitable for our students. Because what I was realizing was when we were pulling in these industry professionals for career days and, having these types of conversations, they were always software engineers. And I'm like, not every kid wants to be a software engineer. Like, I'm an adult. I don't want to be a software engineer. But I also look, and I'll talk about this later, because prior to joining my previous or my current role, I was at Microsoft for 2 years. So like, I know people at Microsoft that are graphic designers. They work in the legal department.
So many things with tech.
They work in the gaming department. So I'm like, we have to diversify what this looks like. And then also in the STEM realm as well, we can't just always be pushing STEM without the humanities component as well. There's no equity if we don't have that. Because I went to college with people who I'm still very close friends with that I flipped their mindset on, where they're like,
I love it, Victoria.
Well, right, because they're like, I'm going to be a data scientist. Why do I need to learn psychology? I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, do you really think that you can just go through life learning calculus and not know how the data interacts with the people that you're directly talking to?
Right.
Like, let's have a conversation about this. So in the district that I worked with, a lot of them thought that STEM was truly just science, technology, engineering, and math. To the point where I had a principal tell me, well, we have math classes. This is a STEM school. And I'm like, no, baby, this is not a STEM school. This is not a STEM school. And also, living in the Pacific Northwest, the same that you can talk about any place. There are ways to bring what we are doing and what's happening in our world to STEM. So like, for example, there's a reason why Whole Foods and Trader Joe's are only located in certain areas of cities and states. So like in the Pacific Northwest, I'm talking Seattle specifically. So like there's no Walmarts in Seattle.
Okay.
You have to go to
Didn't
Renton.
know that.
Yeah, you have to go to Renton in order to go to one, which is about 30 to 45 minutes outside, depending on the day. If you are living in Tacoma, there are no Trader Joe's or Whole Foods. Because Trader Joe's and Whole Foods, they have a very specific socioeconomic and bachelor's degree cutoff.
Oh, my goodness.
In the area,
What?
So the median salary needs to be around $90,000 a year per family. And they also look for a certain amount of bachelor's degrees.
Oh,
and like they've
I
gone
had no
on record
idea.
saying this. Yeah, so like this is on record. They've gone on record saying this. So in order for me, because I lived in Tacoma, if I wanted to go to Trader Joe's or Whole Foods, I had to go to University Place, which was a 20 to 25-minute drive, So we would incorporate these into our lessons when I was coaching with teachers. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about redlining.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what redlining looks like. Let's talk about why there's certain stores in certain areas and not in other areas as well.
And so wrong.
Right.
So wrong.
Yes. Yeah. It's crazy, but like ridiculous. But a lot of the work that I did there also led me to being on like the district leadership and also state leadership for incorporating.
You were asking those hard questions, weren't you?
Yeah. So like equity studies studies and African American studies into curriculums. Like I've been on curriculum boards and all that stuff. So then Microsoft saw the cool stuff that I was doing and said, okay, well, you do really cool things for this district. Do you want to come work for us? And I was a little on the fence because my whole life has been schools and teachers and kids. And now I'm like 3 degrees removed from that. But I decided to take the leap and say, okay, let's do it. So I actually led their educator programming. And it was all about the Microsoft Innovative Expert Program. I also served 23 states, so from the Dakotas to Florida in their technology implementation. But again, all with that equity lens.
Yes.
So what does it look like to take kids from point A to point B? You can give a kid a device, fine. But what are they doing with it? What kind of tools and technologies can help?
Yep.
So a lot of the professional developments and also meetings that I led were all about what equity looked like, not only for kids and their families, but also for faculty and staff.
Yes.
I think that's also just as important.
Right.
And then in my current role at CDW, so they stole me. So they called me up and they said, hey, you do cool things for 23 states. You want to do it for 5? And sold.
Oh,
Yes,
there you go.
yeah.
There you
go. So
go.
now I just have the Southeastern United States, which is really nice. And I know I'm rambling at this point, but that's kind of how I got to where I am.
I love, I love hearing all the different stops in your journey, right? Because again, we never have a straight line.
Never.
It seems.
Never.
And
people always call it like the career ladder.
yes.
I don't believe in that because it's never a full step. I think it's more of like a career jungle gym. Where it's like you're over here and then you're down here and then you're over here and then you're over here.
Yes.
So for me, it's more of like a career jungle gym for sure.
I love that part too, where you started incorporating, and maybe it's just who you are, incorporating those lessons, those social justice lessons. Was there something in the past? Have you always been a person like that who loves to, show the data and talk about it?
Yeah, I'd say I've always been a person like that. So I come from 2 parents from executive leadership. So my mom was an executive at IBM.
Wow.
And she recently retired. So she's
go
living
mom.
her best
Go
life.
mom.
And I feel like every time I talk to her, I'm like, what did you do today? She's like, well, I baked brownies. And then I went to yoga. Her life is so soft. And
she has earned
and I
it.
love that for her because
Yes.
she is raising 3 kids, working in big tech. She has earned it.
Yes.
And then my father was the director of community affairs for the state of New Jersey. So he was big government for the entire state.
Sure.
But I've learned a lot from the both of them. So from my mom, I feel like it was a lot of resilience and being a Black woman in a space where there were not a lot of Black women at the time.
Right.
Because she got her first role at IBM, I think she got in 87 or 88. So it was way before the big tech boom and all that stuff. So she was really a pioneer in that space. And then for my dad, being the director of community affairs, he's very community minded and civic minded.
Yes.
So a lot of the stuff that we would talk about with our family around the dinner table really came from a lot of the stuff that he was seeing.
Sure.
And that was really formative in my instruction.
Wow. Yeah. And the social justice pieces of it, I'm sure.
Yes.
It's I love the way you integrated the data, though, and just with the whole food story. It's so many things to learn about that. It can't just be data.
Right. And it's things that people don't even think about either. Because sometimes we're adults and being an adult is hard. So you just autopilot and okay, I'm going to Whole Foods and I have to drive 20 minutes and I don't like it, but that's where it is.
Right.
It's do we think about why the Whole Foods is there? Do we think about why the Trader Joe's is directly outside of the city? Do we wonder why the big box store is not in certain areas, but it's also in other areas too?
Yes.
And it's also, the reverse as well. I've got a good girlfriend where the closest elementary school to where she lives, so her kids commute in and out 25 minutes. Sorry, 25 miles. So it's 50 minutes round trip.
Right.
So it's hard for her to kind of conceptualize that. But I'm also okay, but you also live kind of in a rural area where it makes sense geographically and for the data for everything to be a little bit more spaced out. And this is a school district where, if you could believe it, there's only 3 schools. There's 1 elementary school, 1 middle school, and 1 high school.
Yes.
For the whole district. So I'm geographically, they're going to make the point that makes the most sense.
Right.
It's going to be by the general store. It's going to be by the gas station. It's not going to be where you are. And I don't like that it's not where you are, but mathematically it makes sense. And that's kind of my math brain.
Yes.
Where I'm I don't like that this is happening to you, but but geographically and mathematically it makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I come now from a rural area in Wisconsin, and same thing. If I want to shop, I've got to go at least an hour away.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
And that's the way, country life is.
Yes.
So I hear you. Well, we're going to take a break.
Okay.
And we'll come back in a bit.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back with Victoria. And, it's interesting that on the break, we were talking about those stats. And
Yes.
I'm always fascinated by data and how it relates. One of my favorite books was called The Responsive City. It was written by a researcher who talks about how data impacts what goes on in a city, just like you're talking about with the Whole Foods and other things. So you said, well, Diane, these things are available online. How come?
They are, yeah. So through all the work that I've been doing, with STEM and equity and social justice, so Advancement Courses actually reached out to me, I want to say about like 4, 5-ish years ago. And I actually have 3 courses that are written directly on Advancement Courses. So I have those and I own those. And those are my words, which is really cool.
I love that part in the age of AI.
Yes. Yeah, right. Like no AI, right? Like a human wrote these words.
Yes.
But the course that I'm the most proud of, because you can search my name and you can see all of them. But the course that I'm the most proud of is Social Justice in Mathematics.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the one that wrote that course. And it's all about bringing equity into the math classroom. I'm very passionate about this because as a former math educator, that's kind of how I got my start with math and science. I can't tell you how many times I've sat in a room with math educators and, oh, it's math and we don't need to talk about that. And, oh, this is numbers and we don't need to do that.
The people, not people, just math.
Right. And even if there is like a word challenge, I don't call them word problems, I call them word challenges. So like even if there is like a word challenge, it's still very like Jimmy went outside and wanted to help his dad build a dock. And it's like, okay, how many kids know what a dock is?
Mm-hmm,
if you don't live in an area that's close to water, if you live in an apartment, like any of those things, you don't know what a dock is.
That's a good point.
We might not even have kids that know what a deck is, depending on whether or not the area has like ample outdoor area. So it was one of those things for me where I was just seeing a lot of gaps in the instruction and also a lot of gaps in like the need to understand and comprehend all of this stuff because I feel like when we were growing up, and still very much so for a lot of our students, math was numbers. Like there was some practical application, but for the most part, math was numbers.
Yes.
So like bringing in those applicable situations, I think is super duper helpful for students. But that comes from finding topics that they're passionate about.
Right.
So that's why I created the Social Justice in Mathematics course.
I love that part because, yes, there's always the classic question. I probably said it in high school as well. What does that have to do with me?
Yeah. When am I ever going to use this? Yeah. But like a lot of the conversations I was having with students about math came from, when am I going to use this? So like if we're doing maybe like a budget analysis on Excel or something like that. Like that's a little bit more concrete because we're all adults and we want to make sure that we stretch our money. But they would be asking, well, for example, I had a student where like they got all their groceries from like the bodega down the street because it was the most convenient and it was right there and they didn't have to go to like hop in a car or get into an Uber and a Lyft or do it. So we actually did like cross comparison analysis for, okay, like what is like a box of cake mix, right? Like at the CVS or the bodega down the street versus if you went to like, like a Winco, because we were living in the Pacific Northwest. So like Winco, Safeway, all that stuff. So we actually did like cross comparison analysis and we sat and saw, what you're paying for in convenience, you're kind of losing out in your budget. And this was a family that also had a car. So like things were a little bit different, but also if it's 5 minutes walking versus 15 minutes driving, it's a different story. So then now we get into conversations about how do we want to spend our time. I get really frustrated when I hear people, especially like really wealthy people, say, well, we all have 24 hours in the day. And I'm like, your 24 hours are not the same as my 24 hours.
Right.
Because I don't have a chef. I don't have like maintenance people on my lawn. Like my wife is the one that mows the lawn. And that's when she's done with her shifts as an ER nurse, Like I am the cook and I love to cook, but like those are hours that are taken out of my day. So then we kind of get into what that looks like as well. And again, it's all social justice and it's all figuring out how we can best support our students. but it's helping them figure out things that they didn't necessarily know before.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're a kid and you're told to become an adult, you kind of have a model and role models of what you think that looks like. But then, of course, when we're adults, we're like, nobody knew what they were talking about.
No,
we're all just kind of figuring it out ourselves.
Yeah. Well, hey, speaking of that and adult role models and things, what trait do you think defines your leadership and the way you grew up? Did something from the past impact the way you are now?
So my saying is, I don't want to be defeated before I'm defeated. That's what I've always said. And I feel like sometimes we get caught up in a spiral of, oh, this might happen to me. Like I'm not even going to apply for this because I don't know if I'm going to get
risk
it.
averse.
Right, like very risk averse. I've always been the kind of person where I'm not going to get defeated until I'm actually defeated. So I'll always throw my hat in the ring. I'll always advocate for myself. I'll always advocate for others. I'll bring other people to the table. We need to build on each other because community is how we grow.
Right.
And sometimes you don't feel that if you don't have people in your corner.
Yes.
So
yes.
I've always been that type of person where I always try to keep people in my corner.
Sure.
Even if they're kids. So my wife, and she talks about this, so I feel comfortable saying it out loud. Like she was the kind of person where she'd come home and there was no food in the cabinets. Her parents were constantly in and out of jail, rehab. So what we do together as a couple is we will call around to local schools and we'll pay off student lunch debt.
Oh.
So we'll call up and say, how much is left?
Yes.
We're going to wipe it clean.
Wow.
Because we know, and she
what
knows
it's
especially,
like.
right, what it's like to learn hungry, and she doesn't want any other kid to, to live like that.
Yes.
And we also go volunteer at a lot of schools and things like that. So, the kids know who we are and everything. But it's one of those things where, they already feel defeated and they're already children. So just taking that one step to alleviate something, that way they can do their best.
Right.
That's important. And as adults, that's also important too. It doesn't stop when you leave K through 12.
Right.
So we always just try to be those people to do that extra step. That way people don't feel defeated.
Right. And those early impacts of your wife and the impact on her, how that called you to action then to do these things.
Yeah. Because it was definitely when she met my family, it was an adjustment for her. She didn't know anybody that was college educated. She didn't grow up in that kind of environment. But she's also very educated herself, went through the Air Force, is, ER nurse. She's like, well, I want to get my doctorate. I'm like, well, I can't be the only one that doesn't have their doctorate in the house. So now this is a doctor off.
Wow.
Officially,
doctor
yes.
off.
Yeah, because I have my master's. And then now she's kind of going through the process of doing all, the doctorate stuff. But it's one of those things where you really have to internalize your environment that you come from, and your environment can either make you, and I don't like to say break you, but it shapes you.
It does.
Yeah. So
it does.
the way that her environment shaped her was, we want to help people, because she didn't get that help when she was growing up, because she didn't have the adults that were able to provide those resources.
Sure.
And she talks about this all the time, which is why I'm comfortable saying it. And for me, I was always in an environment where I had those resources, but I was always told, let's give back. Right? Let's bring people in. Let's showcase what we can do. So that's why I kind of whenever we
what a great combination, the two of you. I must meet your wife.
Oh, she's awesome. She's going to be here tomorrow. She's going to be at ISTE tomorrow.
Okay. Yes. Sounds like a wonderful person.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Well, what times in your career, I fish and I pull in these northern pike, and they're slimy, they're floppy.
You look like a proud Animal Crossing character.
Yes, I'm holding it way out here, though, Note. And the big eye is like this.
I love it.
But you have to reroute with them because they're very unpredictable and things. And, you don't want them flopping around in your boat, and you have to come up with another way to deal with it. Have you ever had those kinds of moments where you had to reroute, or maybe there was a big mistake made that you had to fix?
100%. Always. And the way that I kind of look at those moments where I'm like, oh man, I messed up, or that didn't go the way that I wanted it to, is if you're driving and if you're going the wrong way, or if you realize you're going the wrong way, you're either going to commit to going the wrong way, Or you can drive back and you can try again.
Yep.
So I always try to drive back and go again and just kind of reroute, see where things went wrong, reevaluate the situation. And then if people might have been like hurt or, like if something happened, then I always try to rectify as best as I can.
Okay, well, I think we'll take a break now and we'll be back in a minute. Yes. And the things you talking about your passion in the classroom and all those things, I think I'd known you as the executive piece, but I didn't know you from the teacher piece. And I love that part, because
cool.
those were my roots as well. I came from elementary.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of really cool things that can come from that. And I look at people who, and I love it that they do that have done the same job, for 30 years.
Right.
Because that's where they feel comfortable. But I often wonder, what does it take to move from the classroom out?
Right. I know for me personally, like I got to a point where I knew I could either be like an assistant superintendent, a superintendent, and that was it. Because I was on my way to being like chief academic officer, but I didn't really want to do that. I didn't want to deal with the politics of it or anything like that.
Right.
And then I didn't want to be assistant super because I don't want the board to run my life.
Yeah,
like, I'm very protective of like my personal life. Like I want to be running around at Disney with my friends on the weekend. I don't want to be at like a million school functions. Yeah. Like the superintendent of Naples, who I love. So she like grew up in Naples, graduated from Collier County, like all the way through. She's now the superintendent. Her whole life is events on the weekends. And she's awesome. And like I can maybe get like 15 minutes with her to talk. And every time I have those 15, she's phenomenal. But I always ask her, I'm like, I just want to know, what is your life like as a superintendent? Because sometimes I think teachers think that super is like teacher plus.
Yeah.
But you are basically the CEO of the school district. And that's what she described to me. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to be answering calls at 2:00 in the morning. I don't know if I want to be like at like a peewee soccer game at like 8 a.m. when I could be sleeping in. Like, I just don't know if I want that for myself.
Well, what advice would you give to our up and coming leaders?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I have like 3 things that I normally say, but like I normally say them over like dinner or drink. So I'm trying to like compact it into like a certain thing. So the first thing I want to say is that baby steps are still steps. I think sometimes when people enter a leadership position, they want to just like flip the whole gamut and make all these big sweeping decisions. It's okay to really start small.
That's
and I
good
think
advice.
that's important to get to know people, know where they're at, understand where they at, like where they're at. And that's okay. And that's really good.
Yes.
So baby steps are still steps. That would definitely be my number 1. Number 2 is when, especially in like my position of like leadership and also working with students, because I'm also an adjunct professor down here in Florida, which is awesome. Just being open with the lines of communication and also being transparent about that, I think is very important. It's like I work with students that the way that my university deems it is like they were, you can't see me right now if you're listening, but I'm doing air quotes, right? They were not traditionally successful in high school.
Right.
Or they're second chance college students. So they were in the workforce and now they're kind of coming back for their associates or their bachelors, which all of this is awesome, by the way. Like,
yes,
I love it.
Yes.
But then the back end of this is like sometimes they don't have those skills that, because they're either coming from a place where they didn't care to learn it when they were in K through 12, or because they're fully fledged adults, they've been so far out of the game. So like things like writing a professional email. Like making sure that things aren't just in the subject line. Which drives me bananas whenever I get it. And I'm like, all right. Like making sure that communication has a greeting and a salutation. Just like little things that go a really long way. So like that's kind of like that piece. So when I teach those to my students and I work with people who also do those types of things, I feel like it's a professional courtesy on my end to also let them know when I'm available and when I can help. Because I have worked with leaders in the past where like they're out of office and we don't know. I'm like, where are you? oh, I'm at Disneyland. Oh, well, your out of office isn't on, and your
Yes,
calendar
yes,
isn't blocked
right,
off.
right.
And there might be like a really pressing issue, and we don't know where they
Right.
are. So I always like to keep my calendar as open and honest as possible. And I also do office hours weekly with everybody, where it's like, hey, if y'all just want to talk, I'm here to talk. Like if you just want to vent, we can vent.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
I'm always open to be
That
there for a
access.
resource for you.
Yes.
Because I think that a lot of times people think mentorship and leadership is like weekly one-on-ones or like coffee every other week. And it's not that. It's availability and it's dependability.
Right.
Like one of the things that I do in my workshops is, there's been a lot of talk around equity spaces and professionalism and how it's rooted in like supremacy and like all this stuff. So for me, it's not necessarily professionalism, it's being a professional.
Oh, I like that.
Right. So like
Yes,
professionalism
yes.
might mean like, for example, like I have, like my curly hair and I straighten it from time to time. But like if I were to show up in dreads, somebody might think that I look unprofessional. And that was actually something that happened in the military not too long ago. So there was
Interesting.
this whole thing that happened where officers were saying that people of color showing up in dreads and curly hair was considered to be unprofessional. There was a huge backlash against it because not everybody has straight hair.
Right.
So it got to a point where there's actually a referendum in the military handbook where you can have curly hair, you can have dreads. They call it alternative hairstyles, which I'm still not a fan of that framing, but it's better than nothing, right?
Yeah.
So like it's one of those things where they look at that as professionalism. For me, it's being a professional. Can you show up? Are you dependable? Like when you show up, are you giving your all? If you have a question, do you know where to ask for help? If you don't know where to ask for help, do you have people around you that can do that? So like I don't care about professionalism. And I've been called out for that a couple of times across various places. Cause I'll show up looking like a lollipop, right? Like you see me right now, I have on like a pink shirt, right? Like all these things. Like one time I was at like a district meeting when I was in Washington. It's Washington, so it's different. Like everybody was wearing like gray and black and I showed up in a pink and yellow striped sweater, bright pink pants and pink heels.
I love it.
And they told me, they were like, you don't look professional. I was like, I think I look the most professional in here.
Yeah, really.
Right? Because y'all look like you just walked out of Dr. Frankenstein. And I think that I look really professional right now. But it's one of those things where I read the room, but I'm also my authentic self. And I think that's my last tip.
Thank you. I love that.
You have to be your authentic self, however you show up. I remember one of the first tips that I got from a leader when I stepped into like a leadership role, they were like, okay, well, they can't see you upset or they can't see you cry. And I'm like, well, that's going to be a problem because I'm a human. I get upset. I cry sometimes. Like, I found out that my maternal grandmother passed away when I was at work. And I was in shambles. And I was crying in my office and I went home. What do you do when a family member passes away? You go home.
Right.
Like you don't power through.
No.
You go home and you collect yourself and you take time off.
Yes.
You explain the situation, but you let them know that you're going to come back as your full self, but you need to take time off. But I have worked with people that will power through, and then they're complaining on the back end.
Yeah,
like even when I worked,
it's a choice, right?
Yeah, even when I worked at a different workplace where we had transitioned from like regular PTO structure, to like unlimited PTO. I had people that I worked with that were extremely upset because they're like, "Well, now I'm not going to get a PTO payout if I leave." And I was
they're
like,
banking all of them,
and I was like, why do you not use your PTO?
Right.
I never have days left over at the end of my, and we do have unlimited PTO at my job, which I'm very thankful for. But before we transitioned to unlimited, I was like, I always take my days. I've never been in a situation where I felt that I needed to power through work. Like I always take time to rest and be myself. But I also realize, especially working in corporate spaces, and as you know, we do sometimes work with people where they just power through and they don't take time off. And for me, like, that's not fair to me, and that's also not fair to the people that I work with. It's like my authentic self is taking time to rest, being intentional about when I communicate with people. If I get an email at 6 p.m., which sometimes does happen, I'm not going to get to it again until 7:30 in the morning. Because at 6 o'clock, I'm having dinner with my wife, and we're going on a walk, and we might be running around Epcot, like getting our steps in. But like, I'm not going to be like intentional or thoughtful about responding to you because I'm not present. So that's what that means to me. So yeah, just be your authentic self.
No, such great words of advice. And I love that part, and I love your authenticity. I think that's what makes you so special, right? You are definitely you. You wrote a book as well.
I did, yeah. So as a lot of the things that I write and do, because I also write for Edutopia.
Wow.
So if you look me up online for Edutopia, you'll see my articles and things like that. But I wrote a book called Elevate Equity in EdTech. So that's the name of the book. And I wrote that, again, just out of things that I was seeing. And I was getting frustrated, but I like to turn anger into action.
Yes.
I'm also a very big person with that. I turn anger into action. So I was getting angry at seeing all of these different inequities that were going on in schools with technology disparities, with different types of care, with different levels of instruction. And we even see that happening now with a lot that's been going on with the anti-tech backlash. We have parents who will give their kids full access to a phone or a device at home, but then suddenly, once they get a Chromebook at school, then it's the boogeyman, right?
Yes.
So Elevate Equity in EdTech is all about finding that balance. So what does it look like to provide proper instruction with technology? How can we best support faculty, staff, and students? How do we keep families in the loop about how to also be tech-minded? And then from the school leadership lens, using different technology standards to enhance learning.
Wow. It sounds like a great recipe book.
Yes.
Because it makes me think back when you talked about all this technology coming to that little town that had dirt roads.
Right.
Did parents have experience with technology at that point?
Zero. They were coming to me asking what the internet was.
Yes, yes.
Because, when this is like, because you live rurally, if it's like a small rural town where they've never encountered this before, they don't really know how to handle this.
Right.
And this was also a decade-ish ago where the internet for some places was still kind of a novelty.
Yes,
there were a lot of places that were still running on broadband or Ethernet. So when they were coming to me asking about these devices, they weren't even starting with devices. They said, what's the internet? What's this? Like they still had flip phones, like Motorola Razor, which was my first cell phone. I had a pink Motorola Razor and I loved it. But like they were coming from a place where their kids were given technology that they didn't even understand.
Right.
So that's what this is all about. Like if we're in spaces where people don't understand, let's get everybody on the same page in an equitable way.
Yes.
That way nobody feels like an outcast.
I agree 100% because I believe that's where things kind of went off the rails, is that the internet came and the devices came and the parents got into it kind of the same time as the kids did.
Right.
And so when we were young, our parents told us, look both ways before you cross the street.
Yep.
And that's because our parents had experienced that. And so they taught us that. But parents and children were learning how to use technology.
Right, all at the same time.
Yes. And I think that's how we got ourselves into this predicament in the first place.
Yeah.
So, I have loved talking with you.
I love talking to you too.
And it's like, where can people find you out there?
Great question. So I am on LinkedIn. I am still navigating LinkedIn as a platform. I don't know what I'm doing on there. I know I have 13,000 followers, though.
Wow.
I don't know how that happened, but
yes,
but I am on LinkedIn.
I know how that happened. They love you as much as I do.
It's also the pictures of my dog, I think.
Oh,
because sometimes my dog makes some special guest apperances,
just like my fish.
Right.
Yes.
Well, because LinkedIn is like a job thing, and,
it is.
and my dog is a dog with a job, so he's a comfort dog. So he goes into like all the reading with Rover, sessions for kids that struggle with reading. So
see,
he loves it. Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, but y'all can find me on LinkedIn. It's simple. It's Victoria. LinkedIn.com/Victoria Rose Thompson.
Okay,
because my name is Victoria Rose Thompson, but I go by Victoria. And then I'm still on Twitter. I'm like one of like the few holdouts, but you can find me at Victoria the Tech. So that's where you can find me there. And then pretty much like at any conferences and also at Disney World. That's where y'all can find me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I love it, and thank you so much for taking time out from the ISTE conference today to join me.
Yeah, thank you.
And goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
This has been Beneath the Water podcast, hosted by me, Diane Doersch. Diane Doersch is executive producer, creative director, and editor. Brock Mende is our audio engineer and sound designer. Special thanks to Friends of Friends Recording in Chicago, Illinois. The link to the community can be found at the description below. Also, please subscribe and give us a 5-star review because those reviews go a long way in helping us reach the people who will find a home here. Thanks for joining.